morning and welcome back to our kitchen. I'm Gordy Galusha and I would like to introduce my grandson Patrick Munier, who's going to be cooking with me, and he is one very good cook. So we're going to start off with Patrick making his dish. I was told this was our program 309, so we're right on track since 2009. So Patrick's going to start with his dish.
All right, so today we're going to be making a spaghetti pie, making a variation of the one already made on the show. So I've started off with some pancetta that I've cooked from a cold pan on medium heat until it's rendered its fat and the pancetta is crispy. I'm going to take that out onto a plate lined with a paper towel and let the oil come back to temp and start to cook our veg. In the meantime, we're going to make some brownies.
Today I'm going to be making one of the easiest dishes of all because Patrick's got quite a bit to do in his spaghetti pie. So I'm going to make brownies. In my dish, I've got a brownie mix, which I always use Duncan Hines. And I always use their cake mixes and everything. So in my bowl, I have 2 large eggs, 3 tablespoons of water, and 2/3 cup of vegetable oil. And I'm going to mix it till the lumpies are gone. That looks like it's going to be okay. Put that down, I'll give it a mix. Okay, well, it isn't. Got a little more mixing to do, is a little bit on the bottom. Okay. Going to take my ice cream scoop and I'm going to put them into my muffin pins. I'm going to make brownie sundaes. This is very easy, quick, good dessert. If you want something good, even when the kids come home from school, they like this, brownies. Okay, I'm going to put these in the oven for, in a 353 oven for 15 minutes, and we'll check them then. Okay.
So now the pancetta is out. We've got the fat in the pan. We're going to add our vegetables. We're going to add 1 onion chopped and 1 bell pepper chopped. We're going to give that time to cook down until it's translucent and soft, for about 5 minutes. About 1 minute before that's done, we're going to add the garlic and let that cook down until fragrant. Okay, so the vegetables have cooked down. We're going to take these out, put them on a plate to the side for a minute. We're going to add in a ½ pound of ground beef, and I'm using a ½ pound of spicy Italian sausage to form the base of our meat sauce. When that cooks, we will add the vegetables back in and add some tomato paste, cook that down with red wine to form the base of the sauce and deglaze the pan. So I've got the ½ pound of ground beef in, going to lay that down. I've already seasoned this with salt and pepper. Same thing with the spicy Italian sausage. I'm going to season the other side now with salt and pepper. I'm going to give that a second to get a nice crust formed on that side, and then I'm going to start breaking this apart with a wooden spoon. While that's going, I'm going to turn on my water here for the pasta itself. Get up to a high heat, and I'm going to add a good amount of salt to the water. Help season the pasta. Start breaking apart our meat, mixing it together. Let that cook for a minute. All right, so the meat has now cooked down. We're going to add our vegetables back in. And we're going to add probably about 3 tablespoons of tomato paste. Really just enough to coat everything on the inside of the pan. Mix that up. You want to give your tomato paste time to cook down. It's going to add more of a slow roasted flavor to the dish. You're going to give that about 2 or 3 minutes. You'll know it's done when the color changes to a more orange hue. All right, we'll be back in just a second. All right, so now that our tomato paste has cooked for a few minutes on all the ingredients here, we've got a nice fond going. We're going to add a cup of red wine. Use something you would drink just to deglaze the bottom of the pan and add some additional flavor to the sauce. Get that all stirred and incorporated. We're going to keep that on a medium heat, let that come to temperature and cook down. You want it to basically stay in the pan until there is almost no moisture left in the pot. While that's going on, our water's come to boil. We're going to add in our pasta. I'm using 2 packages of fresh linguine pasta, so technically a linguine pie today instead of a spaghetti pie. And that will need about 2 minutes to come to temp, and then we will assemble the base of the spaghetti pie layer.
I've never seen that.
Look at this. So we're going to jump back now. Pasta's done. We're getting near the end of the wine cooking down, getting pretty dry in here. That's what we want. So we're going to let that go another minute. We're going to take this off, strain that, and then we're going to add it to a bowl we have over here on the side where we've already put in a ½ cup of Parmesan cheese, Parmigiano Reggiano, and a ½ stick of butter. We're going to add the pasta to that. This is going to inform some of the base. We want the pasta still hot while we do this to melt the butter and emulsify the cheese. You even could add a cup of pasta water if you wanted to help bind it together. But we also have a beaten egg over here that we're adding in. You want to move kind of quick with this. You don't want to let the egg scramble. So you're going to go ahead and just start really mixing that up. Really get that cheese and butter worked in there. This is going to be the base of the pie. All right, and that's about how you want it to look. You can see that it's got a little bit of, cheesiness in there, some structure. This is going to hold a little bit better at the bottom of the casserole dish to kind of form the base of what we're working with. So this is set. We're going to come back to the sauce. Now you can do this kind of two ways from here. If I were doing this fully homemade, I would do 2 cans of San Marzano tomatoes, put them in whole, peeled tomatoes, and then start crushing them up with a potato masher to be able to really add like a chunky, meaty marinara sauce. Store-bought works. This is a brand I use that basically tastes just the same as my homemade sauce, so I've started to resort to using this. You just toss that right in at this point. Get the whole thing in there. I like to add just a little bit of water into the jar. Mix that around to get more of the sauce out of there. And then mix that in well to fully incorporate. If I were doing this homemade, I would add at this point fresh basil, crush it up a little bit, put it in there, leave it whole so that it can simmer down with it. We don't need to do that here using the jarred stuff, but I am going to add a little bit of Italian seasoning just to add a little bit more of that flavor that we're looking for. Mix that all together. We want this to come to a light simmer and cook down a little bit. We just really want it to thicken up enough that it's going to sit in a sturdy fashion on top of the cheese that we're going to add to the dish. You don't want it to be too loose or it will boil over or fall out while it's cooking. So we'll let that cook down and we'll come back in just a second. All right, so now we're going to assemble our spaghetti pie. We've got the base we made earlier with the pasta, cheese, butter, and egg. To that, we're going to add our pancetta from earlier. Mix that all in. You definitely want to include this here and not the sauce. It's going to keep these crispy when you're serving it out later. Give that a good mix in. And then we're going to try and spread this out as evenly as possible at the bottom of a greased up pan. So the layers we're going to add onto this, we're going to add a layer of whole milk ricotta, the sauce that we've got cooking down here on the side, and then we're going to top that with another layer of cheese to brown. So we'll get that as spread out as evenly possible. And then we'll grab our ricotta here. Again, we're trying to spread this out as evenly as possible across the entire dish. You will use the whole container, so don't be shy about it. Okay. Once you have that mix, we're going to go back to our sauce, which I'm now going to turn off. Give that one last stir. We are going to coat a layer on top of the ricotta with the meat sauce. Go as much or as little as you want on any of these layers. You can use different sized dishes to kind of stack it up a little higher. Just keep in mind, if you had a lot of sauce and it's runny, you may want to put a baking sheet underneath in the oven while you're cooking it so it doesn't boil over. I'm going to coat it so I don't see any of that cheese underneath it. I want to be able to just see the meat layer here. Okay, I think that's good, nice and spread out. So then we're going to add cheese to top. So I've got some shaved Parmesan cheese here. I'm just going to spread that out and a layer on top. We need a little extra of the grated Parmesan cheese we had from earlier too to fill in some of the empty spots. Make sure we get Parmesan everywhere. And then I've got some pre-shredded mozzarella. If you can shred it yourself, all the better. And we will top another layer on that. We're going to throw this in the oven for around 30 to 45 minutes at around 375. You want it to really cook and brown. You can do a lower temperature and just broil it after if you want. And tends to get a crispy crunch on the cheese on top. Pretty much all the ingredients underneath are cooked. You're really just trying to cook the egg through after this point. I love cheese, so I'm not going to be shy with how much I toss on here. Okay, so now that we've got that all set, I'm going to toss this in the oven. We're going to let that cook for the 30 to 45 minutes. We do have one that's already been in the oven. It's been in there a little longer because we've been cooking the show here, but so the cheese is a little bit burnt on top. You want it to be until it's a nice golden brown, and then take it out. It's going to take probably 30 minutes to cool. You really want it to be cold when you take it out or start to cut into it, otherwise it will be too hot to eat. You can do what I do. I top it with a little bit more Italian seasoning once it comes out, and then you let it rest until it's time to eat.
We're now back at our table, and it's been wonderful to be able to cook with my grandson. But this is what we made today. We made spaghetti pie and brownies. This is show number 309, and I'm going to pass it over to Patrick.
So today we made a spaghetti pie variant, one already made on the show. We used pancetta to start it off within our spaghetti mixture. We used ricotta cheese instead of cottage cheese, and we used spicy Italian sausage in the meat mixture. We also used red wine in our sauce and topped it with Parmesan and mozzarella cheese. I'll turn it back over to my grandmother.
Today I made brownie sundae. I used Duncan Hines brownie mix. It's easy to make and it doesn't take long to do it. And I baked them in my muffin tins. And when they were done, I took them out of the pan, and I put vanilla ice cream and chocolate sauce on that. And that is our dessert and our main dish for today. If you'd like any of these recipes, please send a self-addressed stamp envelope to Dalton Community Cable, 151 Park Avenue, Dalton, Mass. 01226. And that is all from our kitchen today. Please join us next week. Thank you. Good afternoon, and have a great weekend.